Okay, so today we're doing chapter 22 and 23 of Tanya. So let's just understand where we are. In chapter 18 and 19, we discussed the fact that every Jew has what the Alter Rebbe calls in Hebrew, what the Tanya calls in Hebrew, ahava mesiteret, which means hidden love for Hashem. We explained that this hidden love is so part of who I am that you cannot explain it, but it's just a fact. A Jew cannot allow himself to be disconnected from Hashem because he's so deeply attached to Hashem. It's what we said, existential. It's part of who he is, which is why Jews throughout the ages have given up their lives rather than worship, God forbid, idol or anything, worshiping anything that's not Hashem himself. And then we said that the idea of the next few chapters is to help us figure out a way that we can make that attachment we already have for Hashem, make that motivate us in our Torah, mitzvahs, and everyday life, and not just wait for a threat to come to us, God forbid, and then that love for Hashem is going to be shown and demonstrated, right? So in order to do that, we started off by saying that what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate how every sin is in some way a denial of Hashem's truth, and every mitzvah in some way is affirming and demonstrating Hashem's truth. And if we think of a sin as a way of denying Hashem's truth, kind of like idol worship, and we see a mitzvah as the affirming and the demonstration of Hashem's truth, then we would be motivated to not sin and do mitzvahs much more. Now, in order to do that, we need to understand what is Hashem's truth. We have to understand what Hashem's truth is. We need to understand how idol worship is a denial of Hashem's truth, and then we can see how mitzvahs demonstrate Hashem's truth and how a sin is a denial of Hashem's truth, right? So yesterday we explained, 2 days ago, in chapter 20 and 21, the essence of Hashem's oneness and the essence of the fact that Hashem does not change, even though he has a massive creation, huge, not just our physical world. There are all kinds of worlds, spiritual worlds. And yet, all of these things that Hashem made don't change him. And we explain this in two ways. Number one, we said that creation is described in the Torah as Hashem speaking. And we explained how a few words that you say don't change who you are. Right? We went through a bunch of levels. The few words you say doesn't change the fact that you can speak endless amount of words, which doesn't compare to how much you can think, which doesn't compare to how you feel, which doesn't compare to who you are, right? So the few words you say don't change really who you are because it's so little energy, it's so tiny. So how much more so for Hashem, who is infinite, the few words he says to make the world don't change him at all. Then we said, even more than that, not only is it such a little effort because it's only a few words, but those words never left him. For us, when we speak, the words come out of me, will leave my mouth and go travel to you. But there is no place outside of Hashem. So it's not as if Hashem spoke the words of creation and now they live somewhere else. They are all inside of him. And because it's all inside of him, for sure it doesn't change him. It's like the words that are inside of me before I even spoke them. Of course those words are nothing because they're still inside of me. Right? So Hashem himself and the words that he says to create this world are really one. So the whole world and everything that's in it, the little bit of energy that he put to making it, is all within him and therefore doesn't change who he is. That's the truth of Hashem's oneness. Right? Which essentially means that the real truth of Hashem is not only that there's one God and not, God forbid, two. And not only that God is a singular entity and he's not made up of a bunch of parts, but much more than that. The oneness of Hashem means the truth that what is the only true reality? Hashem. And everything else only exists. Why? Because he wants it to be. So what is this world? This world is not an independent being. It's nothing other than the result of Hashem wanting it to be. Right? Following? Okay. So now, let's understand the following. Yeah, Hashem gave us free will. So even our free will is only because he wants us to have free will. Okay, it's a very good question. It's a very, very deep question. Understanding how is it possible to have free will if everything's within Hashem? Is that what you're asking? If everything's within him, then how do we truly have free will? It's a very good question, and I'm going to try to answer it. I'm going to give an example, but I just can tell you that it's very hard to understand the answer. It's a very difficult thing to understand. In fact, when the Rambam writes this in Hilchas Teshuvah, in his Laws of Teshuvah, he writes about this question. He writes by saying it's very difficult to understand, and he gives a little bit of an answer, and then he says, even if you don't understand the answer, don't worry about it so much, because the fact is you do have free choice because Hashem gave it to you, even if you don't understand how. So let me try to answer this question. Because everything is within Hashem, then all of the choices you have are also within Hashem, and therefore you can truly have free choice. Let me explain. 1 second. I'll give you an example. You have free choice to type whatever you want into Google, right? But every single piece of information that you can possibly find on Google is already there. So to Google, it does not matter what you choose. It doesn't matter what you type, because all the answers are already known to it. So do you have free choice? Yes. But does it know the outcome of every single one of your choices? Also yes. Follow? Because it's all within Google, and every single option you possibly have is all within Google already before you even made the choice, then you could choose whatever you want, and it's still going to be inside of it. Follow? It's not a perfect example, but it kind of gives you an idea that because all the choices you have are within Hashem, then you can choose whatever you want, and you still haven't violated going outside of him, because he gave you this free choice, and all the choices you have, he also gave you, because it's all within him. So even before you choose, Hashem knows all the possible choices, and therefore, whichever one you choose, it's all still within him. I hope that kind of answers the question. It's hard to understand, but it kind of gives you an idea. But the bottom line is, essentially, it's true, everything's within Hashem, and within him, he gave you free choice, because he decided to give you free choice. Following? It's kind of hard to understand, but that kind of answers the question. It's very difficult, because it's a very subtle idea, and but this is the truth of what it is. Okay, so now that we know the truth of the oneness of Hashem, that the oneness of Hashem is that there is no true reality except for Hashem himself. That's the only truth, and everything else only exists because he wants it to exist. Now let's understand how it is that there are some things that are aware of Hashem and some things that are not aware of Hashem. For example, there are angels. There are angels that are created by Hashem, and Hashem wants angels to be. That's why they're there. But they're very aware of where they come from. That's why they're holy, right? They're very aware of where they come from. They're very aware that Hashem created them, and that's why an angel never breaks the rules. He always does exactly what Hashem wants, right? Sorry? Yes. The angels don't have free will because Hashem didn't give them free will, right? Just like angels are actually the same thing as animals. Just that animals are physical and angels are spiritual. They're the same because they both run on instinct. They don't have free choice.
It's not really free choice, because it's like the same. You should like, don't do it, you're going to come. So it's like...
It's still a choice, even though there's consequences to your choice, right? There could be consequences to your choice. Let's put it this way. If you don't have free choice, then there's no consequences. There's no consequences for an angel doing something, because it's just the way it's born. It's just the way it's made. Not born, but it's just the way it's made. And there's no consequences for what an animal does, because it's just the way it's made. God doesn't punish an animal for doing something wrong. It's just the way it's made. But a human being has free choice. That's why he can be rewarded and punished. Following? Who makes it? Yeah, so there's consequences to your action. Doesn't mean, it means you can choose to be punished if you wanted to, right? An angel can't do that. Okay? But what I'm saying is that there are some creations that Hashem made. There are some things Hashem made that are very aware of the fact that Hashem made them. Like an angel. That's why an angel is so spiritual. An angel doesn't say, oh, I like to be me. An angel says, I'm here only to do what Hashem wants. That's all I am. Right? And when you look at an angel, you would see, wow, that's something that Hashem made, you would see it without even thinking twice. But then when you look at our world, in our world, it's not like right away when you look at it, you see, oh, Hashem made it. If you think about it, then you'll come to the conclusion, oh, you know Hashem made it. But it's not like it's obvious. When you look at this chair, right? You don't look at the chair and say, ooh, Hashem made that chair. Right? If you looked at an angel, you would say, ooh, Hashem made that angel. Right away you would see it. Because the angel is like a clear glass. And Hashem's light shines right through it. So even though you see the glass, but the glass doesn't stop the light from shining through. But when you look at the chair, it's not a clear glass. You look at the chair, Hashem made it, and that's why it's here. It's only here because Hashem wants it to be here. But when I look at it, I just see a chair. If I think about it, I realize Hashem made it. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's right. Eliyahu Hanavi is a person who became like an angel. So if you looked at Eliyahu, if you met Eliyahu Hanavi, you would see that's something Hashem made without even thinking twice about it. That's what you would see. Yeah, so he had free will as a human being, but then he went to a different level. I don't know what his free will now is like. I can't tell you, but he certainly went to a different level. Okay? So now the question is, if everything is made by Hashem and everything exists only because Hashem wants it to be, how come some things you can see automatically if this is what Hashem wants, and other things you look at it and you don't see automatically if this is what Hashem wants? Right? You follow the question? So the answer to the question is like this. Hashem, it's true, makes everything. And it's true that everything exists only because Hashem wants it. But it's also true that Hashem decides he's going to hide himself from some of the things he makes. I'll give you an example. If you have a business, right, there are 3 levels of things you want to spend money on in your business. Let's say you're selling shoes. In order to run your business, you have to spend money and buy shoes. Now, besides just spending money and buying shoes, you also have to spend money on an office, on a secretary, on employees, on a warehouse, right? It's another set of expenses. And then, in order to run your business, you also have to pay taxes. Now, the truth is, you want to spend money on all these 3 things. You want to spend money on your product, the shoes. You want to spend money on your office staff, on your administration, and on your warehouse. And you also want to spend money on taxes. Do you know how I know you want to spend money on taxes? Do you know how I know that every businessman wants to spend money on taxes? Because if they didn't pay taxes, they wouldn't have a market to sell their product in. If you don't have a government, right, and you don't have a functioning society, then how are you going to sell your product? You need to have a functioning society. You need to have roads, you need to have policemen, right? You need to have firemen. So I want to pay taxes. But if I could, I would pay less taxes and pay more for my product, right? So what this shows you is, even though I want all these things, but there are different levels of want. There are things that I really, really want, like buying the product, buying my shoes that I can sell. And then there are things I want a little less, like my warehouse. If I can get a smaller warehouse, if I can get a cheaper warehouse, I'll get it, right? If I can have less office staff, then I'll have less office staff. I want to have as less overhead as possible in my business, right? And if I could pay less taxes, I would pay less taxes also, even though I want all 3. Right? Because there are things that I really want, and then there are things that I need just to get there. But I really want this to sell my product. But in order to get there, I need to have an office, and I need to have an administration, I need to pay a secretary, and I need to pay phone bills, and I have to pay electricity bills and all the rest of it. And in order to have that, I have to pay taxes so I can have a functioning society to sell my product. But that's a less level of want than what I really want, which is to buy my product and sell it. Following? Following? So there are levels of want. And the levels of want change how much of me is invested in that. So for example, when I get a good deal and I find 100,000 shoes at a very good price, I'm very excited to pay the money to buy that, right? But then when I need to buy a warehouse and the prices are very high, I buy it because I have no choice. And I pay for it, but I'm not as excited to pay for it. Even if I'm paying the same much for my warehouse as I'm paying for those shoes, I'm much more excited to buy the shoes than I am to buy the warehouse. And I'm certainly even less excited to pay taxes. Right? So every level of want changes the amount of excitement I put into that action. Different example is, right? In order to, let's say, swim in the pool, right? I need to clean out the pool first. But the feelings I put into actually swimming is much more excitement and much more enthusiasm than the enthusiasm in cleaning out the pool. Even though I know that in order to swim, I need to clean out the pool. Following? So even though I want the pool to be clean, but the way and my excitement that I'm going to put into my cleaning is much less than the excitement I'm going to be putting in to actually swimming. Following? All I'm trying to demonstrate is that there are levels of want, and each level of what I want changes the enthusiasm I put into it. Now let's apply that to Hashem making his world. Hashem wants everything to exist. That's why it exists. But there are things he really wants, his product, and then there's overhead that he just has to pay, he has to make in order to have a functioning world. So what does Hashem truly want in his world? What was the whole point? What does he really, really want? His real want? Not a trick question. What does he really, really want? Torah and mitzvahs. That's where his real want is. What?
Want us to love him, no?
That's part of the mitzvahs. He wants to love him. He wants us to do things. He wants the Torah mitzvahs, right? But in order for there to be a Jew doing Torah mitzvahs, we have to create a whole world. And we even have to create bad things in the world. Because if we don't create bad things, if there's only mitzvahs in the world, if that's the only thing that exists, then there's no free choice. There's no choice because there's no other option but to do mitzvahs. And then it becomes of no value. The whole value of Torah mitzvahs is when there's the option to do something the opposite. But does Hashem really want those sin? It's like a tax bill. Of course he wants it, because if he doesn't want it, it wouldn't exist. And he wants it because that's going to give free choice for the mitzvahs. So it's only there to help get to what he really wants, which is Torah and mitzvahs. Right? You follow what I'm saying? Go on.
In Torah, how it says about loving, if you think about this, you're a king, and
Yeah.
you're a servant. Servants don't necessarily love the king.
Yeah, so Hashem wants us to do two things. He wants us to be a servant and to be like a child that loves him. That's something we'll talk about in later chapters, how we have to have both fear of Hashem, like a servant, and love of Hashem, like a child. Right? But in order to get that love and fear of Hashem, in order to serve Hashem, there has to be free choice. In order for there to be free choice, there has to be the option to do bad. So the want that Hashem puts into creating bad is not the same level of want that he puts to creating mitzvahs. Because what he really wants is the mitzvahs. But in order for the mitzvahs to work, he has to create a whole world, and he has to put the option for bad. And he has to make a world where we don't see him. Because if we did see him, then we obviously wouldn't have free choice either. We would just see Hashem, and obviously we would serve him. Right? You following what I'm saying here? Yeah. So just before we get to the question, what this explains is that even though it's true, everything is created by Hashem, and everything only exists because Hashem wants it to be, which is why Hashem is the only true reality, like we explained last time. At the same time, there are certain things that demonstrate what Hashem really wants, and there are some things that don't demonstrate what Hashem really wants, even though that's what Hashem, even though they only exist because Hashem wants it, like sin. Sin only exists because Hashem wants it. Right? But at the same time, does it demonstrate what Hashem truly wants? No. Because the only reason why Hashem created sin is so you should say no to it and do a mitzvah. Get it? Okay, ask your question.
Hashem is infinite, right?
Yep.
Hashem is everywhere. Hashem is everything. Why does Hashem need, quote unquote, love? It's kind of childish.
It's a very good question. Why does Hashem need love, and why does he need mitzvahs? Why does he need any of these things, right? Why does he need us? It's perfect. That's not the topic of our conversation. I'm just going to answer it quickly because it's very important. The answer to that is that Hashem decided, he chose to want and need our mitzvahs and our love. Why did he choose it? Very simple. When you're perfect, right? You're absolutely perfect and you're missing nothing, then what you're really missing is the ability to need something else. And because Hashem could do anything, he could also decide to need something else. And that's what he decided. He decided he wants to have Jews, and he decided he wants to have a connection to Jews. It's all his decision. Not because he has to, but because he chose to, because he could. Why? I can't answer the question. I can't explain why Hashem wants something. He just wants it. In the same way, I can barely explain why you want something. It's just the way you want it, right? Certain things you want, and you just want that way. It's just the way it is. So it's just the way it is that Hashem chose that he's going to need and want what we and you and me do. Hello?
So you're saying that Hashem wants, wait, Hashem wants what you and me need.
He chose to need me and you.
Chose to need me and you.
Mm-hmm. By his choice. Because he's so perfect, he can even choose to need something.
But if you're saying it like that,
yeah.
No, it's theoretical, it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
But Hashem could have chose to do what the Christians say.
You can't, right. The would have, could have, you can't say, because Hashem could have created a world that's completely different than ours at all, right? But he didn't. So you have to look at what is, not what could have been. Because the could have beens are endless. Hashem is endless, so the could have beens are endless, right?
Yeah,
Hashem is infinite, so there are infinite possibilities of what could have been. So to ask and hypothesize about what could have been isn't as important as understanding the way Hashem chose to make it be.
But if Hashem wanted to beat you up, what makes it different if Hashem wanted to feel love? What's the question?
That's what it is, because he chose to be that way.
I'm not saying Christianity is real, I'm just asking a billion different possibilities of Hashem.
That's correct. So we cannot talk about what could have been because there's a billion different possibilities, actually infinite possibilities. We're only going to talk about what is. Now, when you talk about what is, it's a different story. But I don't want to go there right now. But you understand the answer to the question, the basic answer? Okay, so let's get back to our discussion here. Our discussion here is this fact that Hashem makes everything. And everything exists only because Hashem wants it, which is why he is one and everything's within him because he chose that everything should be the way it is. But at the same time, there are different levels of his want. There's the truth of what he really, really wants. And then there are things he makes in this world because that's the way he's going to get to what he wants. What Hashem really, really wants is Torah, mitzvahs, and the things he creates just because he needs to get there are all the rest of the stuff in the world. In order for Torah mitzvahs, he has to create a whole world, and he has to create a world that doesn't see him, and he has to create the possibility for sin. Yes. Yes, well, once Mashiach comes, he'll be able to actually see him, which is why once Mashiach comes, the choice for sin is actually going to pretty much go away. You know what it says? It says that when Mashiach comes, we're going to miss the days of exile. Do you know why? Because in exile, we were able to choose to serve Hashem. And when Mashiach comes, you're not going to choose to serve Hashem. There's just going to be no other option. Right, which is why our world is, in a way, more valuable. Because in our world, we're choosing to serve Hashem.
How do we know Hashem was like a cycle?
Hmm?
How do we know it's like a cycle? Hashem creates one world.
Yeah, but we don't know.
Makes them and then boom, the next world.
It's possible, obviously. And actually, there is certain philosophies in Kabbalah that might actually agree with that, but that's not the way we understand it from our texts, from our Kabbalistic texts, especially based on the Arizal. That's another discussion. Sorry? When Mashiach comes, maybe there is free choice, but not in the way we know it. Meaning, it's not going to be free choice between sin and mitzvah, because you see Hashem. How are you going to sin when you see Hashem? Maybe there's free choice in like how you do a mitzvah or what type of mitzvah. Or which mitzvah, maybe in that world is free choice. I can't tell you for sure, but the choice is not going to be between sin and mitzvah because you're not going to have that interest in sin because you see Hashem straight up. Sorry? So once Mashiach comes, our serving of Hashem is not going to be to get away from sin, but to get deeper and deeper levels connecting to Hashem because Hashem is infinite, right? So because Hashem is infinite, there's infinite ways you can connect to him. And therefore, every time you learn Torah, and once Mashiach comes, it's going to be a deeper level of understanding, deeper level of connection, deeper level of attachment, but not because you're going away from sin, because that's gone. Right? You follow?
There's a contradiction. Hashem would have just kept the angels, but he created the world.
Right. So what he wants is, he wants human beings to choose him, and then once we truly choose him, we can be one with him. That's what Mashiach is. Right?
What?
No. Then we're going to be truly one with him, because we'll choose him.
Yeah, we're going to be truly one with him. He says Hashem will want more love, more.
can't tell you. These are hypotheticals I can't answer. Okay, so let's get to the point back here. So now that we understand this, that the truth of Hashem is that everything is only because He wants it to be. Now, yet at the same time, there are things that He wants to be, but He wants them to be in such a way that they don't see Him. And that's the way we have free choice, because we don't see Him, and therefore there's some things that express what He wants, mitzvahs, and some things that don't express what He wants, which is a sin. Right? Now we understand this. What's truly idol worship? What does it mean to be idol? Being an idol doesn't necessarily mean, being of a desire, doing idol worship doesn't necessarily mean that you believe there's no God. That's a very bad version of idol worship. But you know what the most basic level of idol worship is? Someone who says, yes, it's true, God created the world. And yes, it's true that everything exists because Hashem wants it. But I also do it, but I also have my own value. I'll give you an example. I'll tell you the story of idol worship. The Rambam writes the story of idol worship in his Laws of Avodah Zarah, right in the beginning, the first chapter. The laws of idol worship. So he tells us the story like this. Hashem created the world. So when Hashem created the world, obviously everybody believed in God. Adam and his children, of course they believed in God because God created the world. Why wouldn't they? So how did they get to the point of serving idols? So explains the Rambam like this. People, beginning with a man named Enosh, looked at the world and said, okay, God created this big world. Now created the world with a system. And the system of the world is that in order for our plants to grow, we have to have sunlight and rain. Right? So why should we bother Hashem asking Him to give us sunlight and rain? Just tell the sun to give us sunlight. Don't bother Hashem. He's running a whole world. Just talk to the sun and ask the sun for the sunlight. Until over time, people forgot that there was Hashem altogether. And the Rambam explains how this happened slowly. But what's the initial mistake? What's wrong with Enosh's logic? Why bother Hashem to give us sunlight and rain? Just talk to the cloud directly. Talk to the sun directly instead of bothering Hashem with this. What's the mistake? The mistake is thinking that the sun had free choice. It's like instead of thanking the person for chopping down the wood, it's like you're thanking the axe. You don't thank the axe. The axe just has no free choice. It just does what the person wants, right? You don't thank the car for giving you a lift. You thank the person who drove the car for giving you a lift, right? That's the mistake. Enosh thought that it's true Hashem runs the world, but there are other things that also have free choice, that also have their own independence. And there's the key. What's the key root of idol worship? Is not to think there is no God. Even if you think there's a God, the mistake of idol worship is to think that other things also have independence. Like to think the sun has own independence, to think, when do I want to shine? When don't I want to shine? So anything that didn't, right? Because the truth is, nothing exists only because Hashem wants it to be. That's just the way it is. But once you make the mistake of thinking, yes, Hashem runs the world, but other things also have their own independence, that's already idol worship. Following? Now, if that's the case, so the truth is now we're doing not just 22 and 23, we're going to do 23 and 24 also. If that's the case, then a mitzvah, which is the true want of Hashem, when you do it, what are you doing? You're connecting to the truth that what is the reality? Nothing exists only because Hashem wants it. Because the mitzvah is what He truly wants. So every time you do a mitzvah, what are you doing? You're demonstrating everything exists only because Hashem wants it. Because the true want of Hashem is this mitzvah. But then when I do a sin, what am I doing? What am I saying? What I'm saying is, okay, Hashem runs the world, yes, but I do what I want. That's exactly like the mistake of idol worship of saying, Hashem runs the world, yeah, but the sun also does what it wants. You see? Do you see how sin is the same thing of idol worship now? Okay. Yes, but those angels are like an axe in my hand. They don't have any free choice. Which is why in Torah, you're not allowed to ask an angel for help. Because an angel doesn't have free choice. That's like asking the axe, can you please take down? It's like asking the car to give me a lift. You ask the person to give you a lift in the car. They didn't turn the angels to ask them for help. They made angels do things for them, maybe. But you're not allowed to ask an angel to talk to Hashem for you. Because you talk to Hashem directly. That's why Leo is different, because he's a person. So I don't know exactly how that works, but it's a bit different. But the halacha is, you're not allowed to ask an angel to pray for you. Because an angel is just like the sun. It has no free choice. You don't ask the sun, can you please talk to God and make more sunlight? Chas v'shalom, that's idol worship.
You said it's Hashem, angel controls the sun. It's like two different types of angels.
No, it's not that the angels control the sun. It's like different levels of axes. Okay, let's put it using the example of the axe. I'm holding the wood, and the wood is holding the metal, and the metal is banging on the tree. So it's like the angel moving the sun to bring sunlight into the world. But all of those stages don't have their own free choice. They're all just tools that Hashem uses to run his world. The moment you say that the sun has free choice, now that's idol worship. The moment you say an angel has free choice, also idol worship. Now, what if I say, I do what I want? Yes, Hashem runs the world, but I do what I want. That's exactly like saying Hashem runs the world, but the sun does what he wants. And that's why every sin is kind of like idol worship. You see it? One second, but before I ask the question, do you understand it though? Okay, ask the question.
There used to be a free choice, so I do what I want. That's the definition of free choice.
That's true. You do have free choice. But the moment you say, I'm going to do something opposite of what Hashem made me, now I'm choosing to be independent from Hashem. And that's like a little bit idol worship. Instead, the truth is, you're right. My free choice is only because Hashem gave it to me. But then as soon as I do that free choice for something that Hashem doesn't want, what I'm doing is I'm disconnecting from the fact that everything exists only because Hashem wants. Because I'm choosing to do the opposite of what Hashem wants. Just like thinking the sun can do whatever it wants. That's why every sin is kind of like idol worship. Because every single sin is me saying, I do what I want. Hashem runs the world, yes, but I do what I want. Hashem runs the world, but the sun does what it wants. Okay, so when it comes to punishment, it's a different story because it depends on how bad it is. So, not necessarily. Do you know why? Because when you do a sin, you don't realize this. It's not like every time you do a sin, you're realizing that I'm disconnecting from Hashem. What you're really thinking when you do a sin is, I like it. And in the back of it, you think, I'm still a good Jew. Right? Which is why you're not punished so badly. Because in your mind, you're not really disconnecting from Hashem. You really like Hashem. You really want to connect to Hashem, but you just, you like to do a sin. But now we're trying to figure out a way to stop us from doing that. And how do we stop ourselves from doing that? By reminding ourselves, whoa. When you do this sin, what you're doing is you are disconnecting from Hashem. You're being like an idol, God forbid. Because you're saying that Hashem runs the world, yes, but I do what I want. That's like thinking Hashem runs the world, but the sun does what it wants. You follow? Yeah. Okay, so that's why I said when Mashiach comes, it's not going to be the free will that we have now, but there's going to be some level of free will. I don't know what it's going to look like. Maybe the free will is going to be how we do our mitzvahs, what way we do the mitzvah, or maybe it's going to be which mitzvah we choose. I can't tell you for sure, but it's definitely not going to be the way we are now, where we choose sin over. You understand? Sorry? Exactly. The free will could be when Mashiach comes, how we do the good. But it's not going to be like we have now, choosing good or not good.
I don't want to talk about the modern but like think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Yes, it is. Free will is only bad and good, and once we get that removed, we're only doing good.
Yeah. So it's the same question. It's the same question as asking, does a tzaddik have free will? A tzaddik has no more animal soul, right? He doesn't want to do it. All he wants to do is serve Hashem. Does he have free will? The answer is, of course, he has free will. But the question is, what type of free will, right? And the question is, in what ways is free will expressed? That's a different story than saying, in other words, that's why I said it's different than the free will we know of now, but there's still going to be free will. It could be free will of, do you serve Hashem from love? What kind of love? What kind of fear? What level of fear? It could be that kind of free choice. But again, because I'm not in that level, I don't really know the answer to the question, but it's certainly not going to be the way we have free will today. Yeah. How much effort do you want to put in? How much effort do you want to put in? What kind of effort? What kind of feeling? What kind of emotion? What kind of attachment? These are all different choices you have, even though they're all right. Follow? Okay, so now we understand why a sin is kind of like idol worship. Because every sin is kind of like saying that, yes, Hashem runs the world, but I can do what I want. Just like thinking Hashem runs the world, but the sun can do whatever it wants. That, of course, we know is idol worship. Chas v'shalom. Now, what is a mitzvah? A mitzvah, like we said before, that's Hashem's true want, right? There's levels of want we explained before, right? There's the want that I have to buy the shoes, and then there's the want that I have to pay taxes. There's the want that I have to swim, and then there's the want that I have to clean the pool to swim, right? And my enthusiasm is less if it's less of a want, right? Remember we said that? So where's Hashem's true want? In what? In Torah and mitzvahs. So every single time I do a Torah and mitzvahs, what am I expressing? I'm expressing the true want of Hashem. And the true want of Hashem is what makes the whole world. So every time I do a mitzvah, what I'm really showing is, this is only true because Hashem makes it. So every mitzvah is a way of expressing the truth that Hashem is the only reality. And everything else exists only because Hashem wants. Because a mitzvah is the essence and truth of Hashem's want. Following? To give that example before swimming. When I go swimming, after I clean the pool, then when I swim, it shows you that even when I clean the pool, it's only because I wanted to swim. Right? When I finally get to what I really want, then all the other things I did to get there now make sense. Right? So when I do a mitzvah, now it shows that everything that Hashem wanted, now it's coming to what he really wants. That everything he created was to lead to this moment of me doing a mitzvah. So the mitzvah is the best way to show that Hashem is the truth of everything, and everything exists only because Hashem wants. And that's why I'm doing a mitzvah, because everything exists only because Hashem wants. So every time you do a mitzvah, you are demonstrating and expressing the truth that Hashem is the only reality, and everything exists because Hashem wants it. And every time a person Chas Hashem does a sin, he's expressing the opposite. Hashem is in charge of the world, yeah, but I do what I want. Like the sun doing whatever it wants, God forbid. So every sin is like, God forbid, a little bit like idol worship. And every mitzvah is like expressing the truth that everything only is the result of Hashem's want and desire and will. Follow? We think of Torah mitzvahs that way. It's a whole different story. And tomorrow we're going to talk about how to take this idea and implement it in every single time we do Torah mitzvahs. So I want to conclude one thought. Our sages tell us, this is what the Alter Rebbe says this also. Our sages tell us, actually two thoughts. Number one, our sages tell us that when someone's angry, it's like idol worship. Why is anger like idol worship? Because anger is the most deepest way of saying, I do what I want. Why am I angry? Because it hurt me. Anger is a very, very selfish feeling. And anger is a way of saying, I'm in charge. That wasn't supposed to happen to me. But if everything only exists because Hashem wants it to be, what are you angry at? This is the way Hashem wanted it to be. Leave it alone. That's why anger is like idol worship. Because anger is like a sin, is saying, I do what I want. And if I'm upset that didn't happen the way I wanted it to be. 1 second, is it about what you want or what Hashem wants? If it's about what Hashem wants, then what are you angry about? You follow?
Yeah, it's like you don't work and after you get angry. It's like you say you do tons of money and you don't work out.
Yeah.
And you say and you stop working, you say Hashem, why? It's Hashem deciding it, but you stop working.
Yeah. So once it exists because Hashem wants it to be. It doesn't mean I have to be lazy about going to the future. But if this is the reality right now, then this is the way Hashem wants to be. Then look in the Torah and see what Hashem wants. Hashem wants me to work, make a living, give charity, take care of my family, right? Sorry? Because Hashem wants us to choose him. So in order for us to choose him, there has to be the option to do one way or the other. If everything is just provided to you for free by Hashem, then then there's no choice of him. It's just like an angel who had everything provided for him for free. Right? The angel's life, he doesn't have to work for his life. He just gets everything for free because Hashem made it, and that's the end of it. So the angel never really chose Hashem because there's no other option. But for me and you, we have the option. Hashem says, okay, I want you to work for your life, because that's how he made us. And he says, I want you to choose me. But when I don't choose him, then I'm kind of disconnecting from him, like the sin before, like getting angry and saying, I'm disconnected from Hashem. When the truth is I should choose Hashem because that's the only truth.
So if I screw you up and like I trick you to deal or whatever, so I'm after
I shouldn't be angry at you. That's the truth.
I'm like, why are you angry?
That's right. I shouldn't.
That's
Yeah. It doesn't mean I should let you mess me over. I should try to stop that. But anger, no. That's true. It's a big struggle inside to remind us of our faith in Hashem and not to be upset when people hurt us. It's a real struggle. But that's really the test of our faith in Hashem. That's the first comment. The second comment I want to say was, not only every time I do a mitzvah is that act a demonstration and an expression of the truth that everything only is in this world because Hashem wants it to be. Because right now I'm doing what Hashem really wants. But now what happens? It's not just the act that shows that this is what Hashem wants, but even my hand that's doing the act is now living in a way that's true to Hashem who wants it to be. The thought that I have that controls my act is also thinking the thoughts of what Hashem truly wants it to be. The blood pumping through my body that is doing the mitzvah is also living in a way that is doing exactly what Hashem wants it to be. So the more of me I put into the mitzvah, the more of me is showing and living the way Hashem truly wants it to be. So I can do a mitzvah just like, putting on film without even thinking about it. And I'm thinking about something else. So maybe my hand is doing what Hashem wants it to be, but my thoughts are somewhere else. But if I put my thoughts into it, now my thoughts are being the way Hashem wants it to be. If I put my feeling into it, now my feelings are the way Hashem wants it to be. So the more of me I put into the mitzvah, then the more of me becomes connected and becomes one with the truth that Hashem is the one that makes everything be, because everything only is because He wants it to be. Because all of me is now acting in the way Hashem wants it to be. Follow? It gives us a whole different appreciation for what a mitzvah is and a whole different appreciation for what a sin is. And God willing, tomorrow we're going to look at how we can really, really think about this idea to make us stop doing a sin and to motivate us to do mitzvahs. That, God willing, is coming tomorrow. Everything clear so far? These are deep ideas, but I hope we get some idea. So this was chapter 23, 24, and 22, 23, and 24. I said 22 and 23, but it's actually 24 also. Okay? So God willing, more tomorrow. Have a great day.